NATALEE Holloway, prime murder suspect JORAN van der Sloot, pleads guilty to the murder of another young girl he meets at a resort casino after beating her to a pulp and breaking her neck.
2 girls, 1 cadaver, 2 victims, yet only 1 conviction. This man destroyed not 1 family, but 2 of them. Today, we will talk about the Dutch murderer JORAN van der Sloot, who killed 2 girls in cold blood and shows no remorse to this day. What could be the argument about which led JORAN to take a life? Stay tuned to find out the reason behind their heated conflict.
An international crime and a high-profile suspect. JORAN van der Sloot is in custody tonight, suspected of killing a young woman in Peru.
STEPHANY FLORES was tragically massacred by JORAN van der Sloot. The motives behind the felony were an argument, a combination of rage, a violent altercation, and the subsequent attempt to cover up the crime. On the night of the tragic event, JORAN and STEPHANY had spent time together in a hotel room in Lima, Peru. It is believed that an argument escalated between them, leading to a violent confrontation. In a fit of rage, JORAN attacked STEPHANY, resulting in a gruesome crime. The violence inflicted upon her was severe and brutal. On May 30th, 2010, STEPHANY FLORES, aged 21, was participating in a Texas Hold'em event at the Atlantic City Casino in Lima, Peru. She was also a young and promising business student with a bright future ahead of her. She played poker frequently and had won $10,000 the previous couple of nights. She informed her father that evening that she would compete in the event and would return home thereafter. After the match, STEPHANY didn't return home, so her father Ricardo called his son Enrique Flores. STEPHANY wasn't expected to be absent when she claimed she would be. After going home, Enrique made calls to all of the people she knew. He called the police to report her missing because none of the others had heard from her or knew her whereabouts. At this point, her father was starting to suspect something had happened to his daughter. Police visited the hotel where the competition was held and obtained security footage. She was at the competition as scheduled after they discovered the footage of her on it. Around 3 in the morning, STEPHANY entered the room where the tournament was taking place and sat down next to a blonde male who was already seated at the table, according to the video. Just after 5 a.m., they set off together. In the hotel, guests recalled seeing them together. One of the workers even compared the individual to Brad Pitt in terms of appearance. More video was discovered, and it was revealed STEPHANY and the man entering a hotel room around 5:16 in the morning. After a bit, the man went away and came back with 2 cups of coffee and bread. The man returned with his rucksack 3 hours and 20 minutes following the time they originally entered the hotel room together. He instructed the hotel employees to leave the girl alone in her room. The story took a much unexpected turn when the man's name appeared on the registration for room 309 there. Officials were all too familiar with the name, JORAN van der Sloot. Dutch native JORAN, age 22, has long been thought to be connected to the American girl NATALEE Holloway's disappearance. On May 30th, 2005, NATALEE vanished from Aruba. STEPHANY was last spotted on this date exactly 5 years ago. Was this a planned abduction? Or did JORAN just happen to be tied to the disappearance of 2 girls on exactly the same date 5 years apart? Or was it just a huge coincidence? NATALEE Holloway, a high school student from Alabama, vanished in May 2005 while on a senior class trip to Aruba. She was last seen leaving a pub with JORAN van der Sloot, who was 17 at the time when she was 18 years old. Although he was repeatedly held in connection with the case and even confessed, Aruban authorities claimed they lacked sufficient proof to bring charges against him, which means he was never convicted in the Holloway case.
Meanwhile, a longtime suspect in NATALEE Holloway's disappearance pleaded guilty earlier this week to the murder of a young woman in Peru.
Let's get back to the story of Flores. How did she get caught up in such grisly circumstances? What did JORAN do? What was the weapon that was used? And most importantly, what happened inside those 4 hotel room walls? Their initial encounter circumstances remain unclear, but their paths crossed in a tragic twist of fate. Little did STEPHANY know the danger she was unknowingly inviting into her life. In the hotel room where she went with JORAN, STEPHANY Flores was discovered lifeless. She suffered from several brutal beatings. The tennis racket they think was connected to her death was found by investigators in the room. It is said that the crime scene was ghastly, as if coming straight out of a horror movie. Upon realizing the magnitude of his actions, JORAN attempted to cover up the crime. He fled the scene, leaving behind a chilling scene of violence, but he couldn't get very far. Police made his photo and description public.
The latest on JORAN van der Sloot. New surveillance video shows him entering a hotel room in Peru. The 22-year-old suspect was picked up in Chile over the weekend and handed over to authorities in Peru.
And on June 3rd, acting on a tip, they detained him in Chile. His ex-girlfriend stated that he texted her to request money to pay for a flight, which suggested that his intention was to try to get to Aruba. He had taken 2 cabs driven by 2 brothers to get from Peru to Chile. They were unaware of his actions. He had his blood-stained shirt with him when he was taken into custody. JORAN was sent back to Peru. He claimed that he was innocent after first being questioned by the police. According to him, a man with arms barged into the hotel room. He ultimately admitted being guilty 4 days after being detained. The gruesome nature of his crime sent shockwaves through Peru and the international community.
Denying repeatedly that he killed Stephany Flores, the young Dutchman broke down in admitting to murdering the 21-year-old Peruvian student in his hotel room after a night of drinking and gambling.
Yet, it was still unknown why he attacked Flores in the first place and what the argument was about that Stephany had to end by paying the price with her life. In his statement to the police, he said that when Stephany was using his laptop, a message linked to his role in the NATALEE Holloway case appeared. JORAN admitted being intoxicated at the time to the cops. He consumed 10 whiskey shots and pisco cocktails. JORAN claims that Stephany broke out and slapped him after reading the text on his laptop and hearing about NATALEE's case. He described how everything that happened was not planned and that he did what he did impulsively and without being aware of the magnitude of his actions. JORAN claimed that he was forced to act in this way out of fear that she would call the police. It was characterized by him as an impulsive act. But according to authorities, he might have been acting out of theft. When he left the hotel, he stole Stephany's money. JORAN tried to work out a deal with law enforcement even though he was aware that he now faced a hefty prison sentence in Peru. If he was spared from prosecution, he vowed to provide the location of NATALEE's remains to Aruba's authorities. He was given a 28-year prison sentence since law enforcement did not agree with him. Later, he asserted that the only reason he agreed to confess was because his attorney assured him that the maximum sentence would be 15 years. He added that he had been forced to confess under duress. JORAN will be extradited to the US after completing his sentence in Peru to face allegations of wire fraud and extortion. The story of JORAN van der Sloot and Stephany Flores is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can consume an individual's soul. Their encounter resulted in a horrific crime that shattered lives and left families devastated. JORAN's actions have forever scarred the memory of Stephany, and the pain inflicted on her loved ones remains immeasurable. The tale serves as a somber reminder of the consequences of unchecked violence and the enduring need for justice and compassion. If you liked this horrifying tale of a man turned monster, drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so we can bring more bone-chilling stories to light. What do you think was in the text that Stephany saw which led JORAN to commit such a merciless crime? Tell us in the comments below. And thank you for watching.